So good morning friends, we'll start section 9, qualification standard for welding, brazing and fusion procedures, welders, brazers and welding, brazing and fusing operators. But we are dealing with welding only as per 570. ASME boiler and pressure vessel committee on welding, brazing and fusing. Part QG. Q is for qualification, general, qualification, welding, welding, article 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all. We don't have to see more than that. That is quality bridging and quality fusing. So we are not looking that things. We may go for the welding part after that. The purpose of procedure specification and procedure qualification record, WPS PQR, is to ensure the material joining process proposed for construction is capable of producing joints having a required mechanical properties for the intended applications. Personnel performing the material joining procedure qualification test shall be sufficiently skilled. The purpose of performance qualification is to determine the ability of the person using the material joining process to produce a sound joint. General requirement. Scope. Part QG contains general requirement. QW contains requirement for welding. QB for brazing. QF for plastic fusing. Procedure specification. Specification in a written document providing direction of the person applying the material joining process, detail of the preparation and qualification. Or procedure specification for welding, WPS. Are given with respect to parts addressing that process. Procedure specification used by organization having responsibility for the operation control and material joining process shall have been qualified by the organization. There shall be a standard procedure specification acceptable under the rules of application part for the joining process to be used. Procedure specifications shall be available for reference and review of the fabrication site. So it should be in fabrication site on a board. So welder can have access, and even the welding supervisors, welding inspectors all should have access. Procedure qualification record. The purpose of qualifying the procedure specification is to demonstrate that the joining process proposed for the construction is capable of producing sound joints having a required mechanical properties for the intended application. It's sound joint. That's all. Qualification for the procedure specification demonstrate the mechanical properties of the joint made using joining process and not the skill of the person using the joining process. Skill is by welding performance. The mechanical properties. So a good welder always doing the PQR. The procedure qualification record PQR document what occurred during the production of a procedure qualification test coupon and the test result of testing that coupon. As a minimum, the PQR shall document the essential procedure qualification test variable applied during the production test joint and result of the required tests. Toughness testing is required for qualification of the procedure specification. The applicable supplementary essential variables shall be recorded for each process. The organization shall certify the PQR by a signature or other means as described by the organization quality control system. The PQR shall be available for review. Procedure specification may be supported by one or more PQRs, and one PQR may be used to support one or more procedure specifications. Performance qualification. The purpose of qualifying a person who will use the joining process is to demonstrate that person's ability to produce a sound joint when using a procedure specification. Performance qualification record non-essential essential variable. The identification of procedure specifications followed during the test. The organization shall state on the record that the performance qualification test was conducted in accordance with the requirements of this section and certify the record by signature other means as described in the organization quality control system. Performance qualification records shall be available for review. Variable. Essential variable procedure. Essential variable, supplementary essential variable, essential variable performance, supplementary essential variable. So there are essential variable procedure means it is in procedure that variable cannot change. If you change, the procedure will change. Before using the procedure specification, whose essential variable have been revised and fall outside their qualified range, the procedure specification must be requalified. That's all essential is essential when described by specific variable list. Will affect the ability of the person to reduce performance. So ability of person to produce a sound well joint will vary. So you cannot change essential variable. Supplementary essential variable, even you cannot change if it is there. So toughness properties of the joint, heat affected zone, all this is required. Non-essential variable you can change, but you can write a revised procedure WPS. That's all. If you want to change something. Organization responsibility. Be designated by organization with responsibility of certifying qualification document have satisfactory level of competence in accordance with the organization quality program. As a minimum, they shall be qualified by education, experience, or training in the following areas. Knowledge of the requirement of section for the qualification of procedure and joining personnel, knowing of the organization quality program, the scope, complexity, special nature of the activities to which oversight is to be provided, have a record maintained by organization containing objective evidence of the qualification, training, and experience. Procedure qualification. Each organization is responsible for conducting the test required by this section to qualify the procedure that are used in the construction of components under the rules of code standards and specification that reference to this section. If other section it is not doing anything like AWS or API. AWS is I think following this. API not following this section 9. The personnel who's produced test joint for procedure qualifications shall be under full supervision and control of the qualifying organization during the production of these test joints. Or you have BS, so BS API, those are slightly different from these procedure qualifications. That is API 1104, not API as it is. 1104 is different than this qualification. The personnel who produce test joints for procedure qualification shall under full supervision and control of qualifying organization during the production of these test joints. Person producing test joint for the qualification of procedure shall be either direct employee, shall be personally engaged by the contractor for material joining service. Production of qualification test joint under the supervision and control of another organization is not permitted. However, it is permitted to subcontract any or all of the work necessary for preparing the material to be joined and subsequent work for preparing test specimen from complete test joint and the performance of the non-restrictive examination and mechanical tests provided the organization accept full responsibility for any such work. If the effective operational control of procedure qualification for two or more companies of different names exist under the same corporate ownership, the companies involved shall describe in the quality control system or quality assurance program the operational control of the procedure qualification. In this case, separate procedure qualification are not required, provided all other requirements of the section are met. Performance qualification. Each organization is responsible for the supervision and control of material joining performed by persons for whom they have operational responsibility and control. The organization shall conduct the test required by the section to qualify the performance of those persons with each joining process they will use for the construction of the component under the rules of the code, standard, and specification that reference this section. Persons who are successfully qualified shall be assigned an identifying number, letter, symbol by the organization like W11, W1, W3, which shall be used to identify their work. Qualification made to previous editions. Joining procedure, procedure qualification, and performance qualification that were made in accordance with edition and addenda of this section as per Baker's 1962 edition may be used in any construction for the current edition have been specified. Joining procedure, procedure qualification, and performance qualification that were made in accordance with edition and addenda of this section prior to the 1962 edition may be used in any construction for which current edition has been specified, provided the requirement of the 1962 edition or any later edition have been met. So a typical single multi-bit layers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 9, then overlap, then 10, then overlap 11. Like that. A typical single bit layer 1, 2, like this. But there is some relation between this total bead width of the diameter of with the diameter of the electrode. Article 1 Welding General Requirement Scope. The rules of the part apply to the preparation of welding procedure, specification and qualification of welding procedures, welder and welding operators for the types of manual machine welding process permitted in this part. The rules may also be applied insofar as they are applicable to other manual and machine welding process permitted in other sections. Procedure specification. WPS used by organizations that will have responsible operational control of production welding shall be a WPS that have been qualified by the organization in accordance with the Article 2, or it shall be AWS standard welding procedure specification SWPS listed in mandatory appendix C adopted by that organization in accordance with Article 5. Performance qualification. The performance qualification basic criteria established in the welder qualification is to determine the welder ability to deposit the sound weld metal. The purpose of the performance qualification test for the welding operator is to determine the welding operator mechanical ability to operate the welding equipment. Responsibility. Each organization shall conduct the test required in this section to qualify the welding procedure used in the construction of the weldment built under the code and performance of the welders and welding operators who apply this procedure. Responsibility lies with organization. Test position for group welds. Group welds. So flat position 1G, horizontal position 2G, plate position. So plus minus 15 degree from the specified horizontal, vertical, on angular plus minus 5. The following paragraphs except that an angular deviation plus minus this specification horizontal vertical planes and angular deviation of plus minus 5 for the specified inclined plane are permitted during the welders. So inclination plus minus 5, angular plus minus 15. So flat position 1G, horizontal position 2G, vertical position 3G, overhead position 4G, pipe position, flat position 1G, horizontal position 2G, multiple 5G means 1G rotated is 5G, multiple position 6G. For stud welds, these are done with the machine, so these are not welded by hand. These are fillet welds, but directly done with these are special positions. Test position for fillet welds, flat position 1F, horizontal position 2F, vertical 3F, overhead 4F, pipe position, flat position 1F, horizontal 2F, 2FR, pipe with axis vertical so that the weld is deposited on the upper side. Pipe with its axis horizontal and the axis of the deposited weld in the vertical plane. The pipe is rotated during the welding. I'm sorry, this piping 5G I told. 5G is 1G not rotated. 1G is rotated and 5G when you are not rotating. So overhead, vertical, everything is there. Multiple position 5G. Pipe with axis horizontal and the axis of deposited weld in the vertical plane. There is restriction, that's all. Horizontal and axis of deposited weld in the vertical plane. You can see the pictures on the back side. Overhead position 4F, multiple position 5F. So 460, 461, position 461, graphics 460, position of weld, screw weld. So vertical position. We are following this. So axis limits 15 degrees and rotate on rotation how much degrees that is given. So groove welds in plate 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G. 4G is overhead. If you see overhead, this is vertical, this is horizontal, this is flat. The same 1G is rotated, you can rotate. 2G not rotated, 5G not rotated. So there is overhead, vertical, everything. It is horizontal. And here is 6G. So 45 plus minus 5 degrees. You can put. That is the requirement of code. You cannot just put anywhere in between 30. So 6G. In AWS you have 6GR. If you put a plate, a restriction plate here. So this is 1F, 2F, 3F, and 4F per plate. Is 1F rotated, 2F, 2FR not rotated. 4F and 5F not rotated. And 2F are rotated. Stud welds like this 1S, 2S, 4S, but it is done by machine, so you don't have to worry for that. Performance qualification, position and diameter limitations. We'll come to this afterwards, not now. They're finished with position. Types and purpose of test and examination. If you are doing WPS, what is the purpose of test and examination? Mechanical test. And there is a tension test, guided bend test, fillet weld test, toughness test. Visual examination, the first one. And test and tension test of the specimen. Reduce section plate, reduce section specification conforming to requirement of this. This is the reduce section. Let us to see this one, the reduce section tension plate. Or you can have from the pipe, alternate pipe, reduce section pipe. The dimensions given that to follow something like this, and if too much like this, the bend test will fail because the heat input is too much. That's why it may be like distortion. For thickness up to and including 1 inch 25 mm full thickness specimen shall be used for each required tension test for pipe, for plate. So for plate thickness greater than 1 inch, then full thickness specimen or multiple specimen may be used. It depends on you what you can change. The multiple specimen are used in lieu of full specimen, then each set shall represent a single tension test of the full plate thickness. Means collectively all the specimen required to represent the full thickness of the weld at one location shall comprise of a set. Like you take from cut this section, like if it is 100 milli, you cut this section and make it something like 40 foot, 30 30 30 or 33 33 33. So you cannot when you polish it will go 30 30 30 will remain. So it should represent the one section. That's all. When the multiple specimen are necessary, the entire thickness shall be mechanically cut into minimum number of approximately equal strips of size that can be tested in the available equipment. Each specimen of this set shall be tested and meet the requirement of QW 153. If you have your machine power is there, you can do one time. Reduce suction pipe. So thickness of pipe having outside diameter greater than 3 inch, you go for this, or you go directly with this pipe. For the thickness up to and including 1 inch 25 mm, a full thickness specimen shall be used for each required tension test. For pipe of thickness greater than 1 inch 25 mm, full thickness specimen or multiple specimen may be used provided C and D are complied with. When a multiple specimen are used in lieu of full thickness specimen, each set shall present a single tension test of the full pipe thickness. Means you have to test the full pipe, that's all. Anyway you want it. For pipe having outside diameter of 3 inch 75 mm or less, reduced section specimen conforming to the requirement given in figure may be used for tension test. Procedure: the tension test specimen shall be ruptured under the tensile load. The tensile strength shall be computed by dividing the ultimate total load by the least cross-sectional area of the specimen as calculated from actual measurement made before the load is applied. Acceptance criteria for tension test. So tensile strength, minimum values, procedure qualification provided under the column heading minimum specified tensile KSI table QWQB 422. In order to pass the tension test, the specimen shall have tensile strength that is not less than the minimum specified tensile strength of the base metal or the minimum specified tensile strength of the weaker of the two. The base metal of the different minimum tensile strength are used, or the minimum specified tensile strength of the weld metal, and the applicable section provides the use of weld metal having lower room temperature strength than the base metal. The minimum specified tensile strength of the base metal. So you have to follow that. The minimum specified tensile strength of the weaker of the two, if two different materials. The minimum specified tensile strength of the weld metal when the applicable section provides for the use of weld metal having lower room temperature strength than the base metal. If the specimen breaks in the base metal outside the weld or welded surface, the test shall be accepted as meeting the requirement, provided the strength is not more than 5% below the minimum specified tensile strength of the base metal. The specified minimum tensile strength is for full thickness specimen, including cladding for aluminum, AL clad materials, P number 21 through P number 23 less than half inch. For aluminum clad material, half inch 13 mm and greater. The specified minimum tensile strength is for both full thickness specimen that include cladding and the specimen taken from the core. Guided bend test. Specimen is bent to 180 degree, that's all. Don't have to think too much. Transverse side bend, transverse face bend. If you're cutting plates from a high thickness, you cannot do root bend and face bend. So go for side bend, that's all. You can cut to size and do side bend. Specimen of the base metal thickness equal to or greater than 1.5 inch, 38 millimeter may be cut into approximately equal strip. And do side bend test. Multiple specimen will be used, representing the full thickness. Transverse face bend. The weld is transverse to the longitudinal axis of the specimen. Is bent so that transverse root bend. That's all root. From root side it will bend and face will bend. Outside is face and the outside is root, that is transverse root. Subsize transverse face and root bends. When the specimen taken from small diameter pipe may be subsized in accordance with general note B, like this. Longitudinal bend test. Base bend, root bend. Toughness test. Longitudinal bend test may be used in lieu of transverse side bend, face bend. We are doing transverse, longitudinal. We never use, but Okay. Acceptance criteria. The guided band specimen shall have no open discontinuity in the weld or heat treated zone exceeding 3 milli, measured in any direction of the convex surface of the specimen for bending. The corrosion resistance weld overlay cladding, no open discontinuity exceeding 1.5 mm, measured in any direction shall be permitted in the cladding. No open discontinuity exceeding 3 milli shall be permitted along the approximate weld interface. Toughness test requirement of SA 370. All these mechanical tests done with section 2A. You have SA 370 or ASTM SA 370. You can say acceptance criteria shall be in accordance with the SA 370. Toughness test drop weight ASTM specification E208. It is not toughness. Fillet weld test. Macro examination procedure specimen. Cut to size and do macro. Visual examination, that is etching and polishing, etching, and take a photo for visual examination of the cross section of the weld metal and heat affected zone. It's also complete fusion and freedom from the cracks. There shall be not more than 3 milli difference in the height, in the length of the legs of the fillet. Macro examination performance specification. Visual examination of the cross section of the weld metal and heat affected zones, also complete fusion and freedom from cracks, except that linear indication at the root not exceeding 132 inch 0.8 milli shall be acceptable. The weld shall not have a concavity or convexity greater than 116 inch 1.5 milli. There shall be not more than 1/8 inch 3 milli difference in the length of the legs of the filler. Rounded indications. These indications may be circular, elliptical, irregular in shape, may have tails, may vary in density. Other test and examination, volumetric and radiography. Okay, we'll stop here. We'll go for these things next video.